Earning seven, eight, nine, 10 figures isn't worth shit when your life becomes very miserable from doing that very activity. First thing first, so this is about Sam Hovins about section on consulting.com. Um, 7 figures in, and while I was checking that, I Andrew Warner read his book, and I googled him, and there came Zen founder, and this might get confusing, but this is just to prove like how everything's interlinked. Small world and coincidence. But Dr. Sherry She interviewed Andrew Warner about on her podcast Zen founder, and it happens that Dr. Sherry is the spouse. Her name is Dr. Sherry Walling. She's the spouse of Rob Walling, with which I listened to a podcast to. I think it was yesterday about like the tiny capital, which is another interesting. First, so everything's interrelated, but this video is not really about that, and it's more about being zen and being cool and living the life. I have many theories about business and making things different, but one of them is enlightenment through business. So business is not only to make money. We spend like 40-50% of our time in there, so why not have fun while doing it? So business should be able to fulfill you, fill your brain with ideas, with joy and creativity and insights. It's not only to generate money. Else, I mean, you'll spend like 40% of your life doing shit that you don't like. And Sam, just looking at him and his videos, we have very similar personalities, me and Sam somehow. Um, but looking at his videos, you could see the empty look in his eyes sometimes, which comes from anxiety and lots of hardships. I had that same look in my eyes. It's not something that you realize when you make those videos or when you're being filmed, but you could see that like I had a tough time smiling in these days. Um, Maybe I don't know, maybe it's a thing of like introverted persons, but you could see that Sam was kind of struggling, and obviously he went all fucking in. I went all in and I kind of crashed and burned. I think it was 3 to 4 years ago. He probably had it 10 or 20 times worse. So he went from branding that is like make 7, 8 figures to like just have fun, and relax, joy. um, think he included that in there because he crashed and burned. Um, I mean, this little video is mostly, like be careful. It's a warning on, like working 18-hour days and crashing and burning. So you'll see, like someone who was doing his videos in New York and with his big rant and making $18 million a year, then $36 million a year. And like people noticing him on the street because he was in every fucking YouTube ads, um, and that's not a life. And that's kind of when he decided to move to LA and like started simplifying things, and now he wants to make business simple, which is like few employees and maximize profits. That is cool, and that's a lesson to be learned. First, that money doesn't make happy. I mean, that's an obvious case. There's a bunch of other cases proving that thesis. But like have fun when you do business. That's the first thing. The second thing is know your objectives. Okay, so like the problem with like financial objectives is that a number won't fulfill you. A number is just a number. It's like a world is math and it's made out of formulas and mathematical theorem. But if a number doesn't mean much, like, hey, I want to make 8 figures this year. I mean, that's kind of my objective this year. But that being said, will I be magnificently happy once I reach this number? No. No. What would make me happy? Well, I have this van life project. I have this ranch project. I have this talking to people project, making communities, learning and building game changing stuff, finding solutions for that world, giving my brain to this world as a gift. I have this this broad intelligence, and I think that the world can benefit from that. That will make me happy to have an impact on the world. So I mean, yeah, it's like okay, so as extreme peoples and as entrepreneur, we like bouncing back. Like so. Okay, I go for the extremes now. 18 million I want to make. Okay, now I'm more conservative. Like okay, maybe I still want to make that, but I want to be calmer. And then we experiment, right? We can never know how it feels until we do it. So there's no shame on trying and crashing and burning. That's for sure. But again, us entrepreneur, we have a tendency to bounce too much sometimes. Bouncing costs a lot, by the way, on a stress level. But the point here is that I don't think either that the goal should be to have a five employee business. Yesterday I listened to one of my favorite entrepreneurs. By the way, I'm not hating those videos. Like these guys are amazing. These guys are on my vision board. John Lee Dumas is another. He had last month he made 200K per month. He has these income goals report and it's 91% profits. And two things that bothered me here. First, he says like it's the money you keep. Well, that sounds a bit greedy to me. And if your objectives are to make money, yeah, fine, do it. And then something that his CPA said, which is like keep your buyers in mind. Keep in mind that your business needs to be sellable. Well, first for GLD will be kind of hard because it's heavily branded on him, and that's leading kind of to my next point. But my goal is not to sell my business. My goal is not to have like one employee or zero employee. My goal is to build this giant community and help the world. Um, so to my next point, like this is a trap. Like once you build this solo business and once you have your name heavily stamped to it, well, first you can't sell it, so that's kind of ironic that he said that. But second is that is ego also, like let not no don't have your ego into things. Build something that's greater than yourself in the community. And third, go with the infinite games. Finite games is cash. Like 20 million, I reach it, check, finite, done. Um, why set a cap? Like these objectives are great for the brain. Have them, have your goals, have your financial goals within, but be infinite in your mindset and think worldwide. When you think in terms of this huge uh, blue globe, which is planet Earth. And what you can do to improve not only planet Earth but the inhabitants of this planet. And guess what? Like even this blue globe, well, there's a black background to it, which is space. And I mean, we're gonna explore that. Have that type of Elon mindset. I'd rather have that for sure, and keep experimenting because these guys are masters experimenters. They're doing very well, so much well than I in so many fields. But I think that commenting on that is kind of worth it. So and learn from others' mistake. Like Sam is a brave fucking warrior. He went through that, and now it's like part 5 of his life, right? And there might be like 50 parts to his life here, which is very interesting. There are warriors out there. They're experimenting and take notes of what they do.